Alrighty, hello everybody. So today I am unfortunately in meetings all day, so I will be unable to attend class, but I do have some video notes for you guys. So today we're talking about how to simplify radicals when it comes with variables. So we talked earlier, I believe that was on either Wednesday or Thursday, we talked about how to simplify when numbers are inside of radicals, but now we are dealing with variables as well. So notice with all 6 of these questions we're going to talk about today, they have variables inside of them. So first and foremost, the first thing that I want to point out is remember on each of these radicals there is an index. So remember the index is the number that's sitting in this little top left hand corner. It kind of looks like there's a shelf right there. It's kind of sliding down. It's on that thing. It's sitting there. Remember there is an invisible 2 there. So all of these radicals have an index of 2. That's just something quick to point out, and I'll show you why that's important here in a few minutes or so with this first question, but just not really important right this second. So one thing that I do want to point out is that each of these can be broken down. Like how you should be thinking about this is, like for number 1 right here, what I see inside that radical is a number and a letter. 16 and x are the things that I'm talking about. So there's 2 things. So what I can do is I can break those 2 things down and apart so that it's the square root of 16 times the square root of, oh, I'm sorry, not b. Whoa, what happened there? b, sorry, I was looking at the next question. X squared. So now, if we go ahead and look at these individually. So, with numbers, remember, we talked about this. I'll show you how to do it in the calculator here in a moment. But when we talked about these on either Wednesday or Thursday, again, I can't remember, we used something called a factor tree. So remember, we are breaking this number down to, all we have is prime numbers. That is 2 numbers that multiply together to give me the top number. So for example, 2 numbers that multiply to give me 16 is 4 and 4. Now, what I mean by we're looking for prime numbers is we are looking for numbers such as, let me just write this in here, something important to maybe write on your notes because they are something important that you will need. So like 2, 3, 5, 7, let's see, 11, 13, 17, 19, 23, 27, no, not 27, excuse me, 29. Like 31. I don't think you'll need up to there. But these are examples of prime numbers. So notice 4 is not in this list. So we can break this down even more to 2 and 2 and then 2 and 2 over here. So now what I like to do is I like to circle my prime numbers. That allows me to quickly pick out what pairs. So because my index is 2, that means I'm looking for 2 of the same prime number. So notice I have a pair of 2's right here and another pair of 2's. Now, whatever pair of prime numbers that you find, it's not always going to be a pair of the same number or even a pair of 2's all the time, but what you're looking for is a pair of them to bring out. Now, whichever ones are pairs, that's how many are outside the radical. So for example, I have 1 pair, so there's 1, 2 outside the radical. And then this pair creates another 2. Whatever numbers are on the outside the radical, they multiply together. Whatever numbers are inside the radical still, they multiply together as well. Notice I have no numbers outside the radical, so I have no radical left. So now I'm going to put this multiplication sign, I'm going to bring that down, so multiplying. Now over here, what we need to do is we need to divide the exponent that's attached to our variable, and we need to divide that by the index of the radical. I told you that was going to come into play later. So what I like to do is I like to say, okay, the 2 stays on the inside, and the 2 over here stays on the outside. So there's how we set up the division. So now 2 goes into 2 once, and that subtracts to give me 0. So what this tells me that there is 1x, so an x to the first, on the outside of my radical, and there are 0 x's, 0, on the inside still. So since I have 0 x's still on the inside, I don't have any x's on the inside of my radical, hence I don't need to draw a radical. So now, when I multiply this together, 2 times 2 is 4. And then 4x to the first is going to be my answer here. So there's my answer for number 1. Let's go ahead, let's move into number 2 now. I'm just going to draw some lines here so I know where my edges are. That's going to help me with organizing my page here. That's just something I like to do. Helps me keep organized. So let's go ahead, let's take the square root of 18y to the 6th. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to say the square root of 18, and that's times y to the 6th. So remember, these are 2's. So now, let's go ahead, let's multiply everything together here. So first thing I'm going to do is, for square root of 18, I'm going to show you how to plug it into a calculator. So on my calculator here, I need to plug in the square root of 18. So I need to use that symbol right there, the thing that's above the x squared. I need to use that. So in order for me to use that, if I want to type in green, I have to hit the green button. So I'm going to hit second, x squared. Notice I have now created that symbol. So I'm going to plug in 18 here. So now that I plug the square root of 18, it gives me 3 times root 2. So I'm just going to put an arrow there, 3 root 2. So there's what I'm going to write there. So now I'm going to bring down the multiplication symbol. And then now we just need to take the square root of y to the 6th. Now, square root of y to the 6th, I can't plug into my calculator. Like, I'll even show you here. Square root, oh, no, I passed it. I passed it again. Oh boy, there we go. Y to the 6th. It doesn't matter what letter you plug in, ladies and gentlemen. It is always going to give you 0. Like here, I'll even show you. X to the 6th doesn't work. Z doesn't work. It doesn't work, ladies and gentlemen. It does not work. All letters come up 0. So we need to go ahead and use our little rule we used over here. So it's the exponent stays on the inside, and the index stays on the outside when we're dividing. So 2 goes into 6 3 times, so that's 0. So that tells me I have a y to the 3rd. Now, when it comes to this simplification, everything that's on the outside of my radical multiplies together. So this is 3y to the 3rd. Everything that's on the inside of the radical multiplies together as well. However, I only have one thing inside the radical here, so just the 2 stays there. So it always goes number, then variable, then radical. Now, for this one, let's go ahead, let's break it down again. So it's going to be the square root of 25 times the square root of x to the 5th. Almost caught me there. Now, square root of 25, that is 5. I don't need a calculator for that. Hopefully you didn't either, but however, if you do, remember, we're going to hit the second button. X squared, 25, bam-ba-lam. Never hurts to double check, ladies and gentlemen, never. Now, it's 5 times square root of x to the 5th. Can't use calculator on that, so it's going to be 5 on the inside, 2 on the outside. 2 can go into 5 twice, leaving me with 1. So here is a new place for us. So we have 2 x's that are on the outside times the square root of x to the 1st, because we still have 1 on the inside there. Sorry, I'm starting to get a little close. I'll just keep it like that because I'm just going to move it apart over here. But we have 1x still on the inside of this square root there. So now, everything that's on the outside of the radical multiplies together. So it is 5x squared. Then it's everything that's inside the radical multiplies together. Nothing else inside the radical other than x to the 1st. So it's 5x squared, and then square root of x to the 1st. Remember, number, variable, radical. That's how it goes. So for number 4 here, let's go ahead, let's just jump right into it. So we've gone through it a couple times, so we're all grizzled veterans. So let's go ahead, let's look at the square root of 24 times the square root of x, a to the 7th. Excuse me, I almost said x. A to the 7th. Now, let's go ahead, let's plug the square root. There we go. So remember, second, x squared, 24, 2 root 6. So it's going to be 2 root 6. And that's going to be times. Remember, we can't plug that one into our calculator. So it's going to be 2 on the outside, 7 on the inside. 2 goes into 7 3 times. Leave me with a 1 there. So I have a to the third on the outside times an a to the first on the inside still. So remember, the remainder remains inside the radical. Okay, so now everything that's on the outside of the radical, so the 2 and the a to the third, that multiplies together to give me 2a to the third. And then everything on the inside of the radical multiplies together. So it's 6a to the first there. So my answer, 2a to the third times square root of 6a to the first. There's my answer for number 4. Now, what we're going to do is I'm going to do number 5 for you. But then I want you to do number 6 as your exit ticket for today. And I might have a little bit more for you to do, but just a little bit of extra practice for you guys, because this number 6 looks eerily similar to one that I'm going to give you on the test. So maybe just a little bit of practice for you guys wouldn't hurt. So let's go ahead. Let's jump into number 5. Sorry, I had to take a drink there. So for number 5, don't be scared, okay? These questions have no difference, okay? What I mean by that is, number 5, we're not going to do anything different. Only thing that's changed is, instead of having 1 letter and 1 number, we have 1 number and 2 letters. So we can still break this down, though. So it's going to be the square root of 72 times the square root of b to the third. Let me put my indexes there. Times the square root of y to the sixth. Now, if you guys, I should have mentioned this before, but if you don't put your indexes, I'm not going to count you off, okay? But it's just a good way for even myself to remember, hey, I have to divide by whatever the index is. And when it's not shown, I can sometimes confuse myself. So again, I won't count you off if you don't write it in, but just make sure that your division here, make sure that you are dividing by 2. But anyway, let's go ahead, let's jump into it. So square root of 72, so again, second square root gives me 6 root 2. So I'm going to write that at the very bottom here. So 6 radical 2, and that's times, so I'm bringing that down. So now we need to do, how many times do go into 3? 1 time, leaving me with 1 in. So I have a b to the first times the square root of b to the first. What that means is I had 1 on the outside, 1 on the inside. So remember, your remainder remains inside the radical. Now let's go ahead, let's talk about y to the 6 over here. So it's 2 on the outside, 6 on the inside. So that goes in there 3 times. So I have 0 left inside the radical. I have 3 on the outside. So now everything that's on the outside of my radical multiplies. So it's 6 b to the first, y to the third. I'm just going to erase my line here. And then it's everything on the inside of the radical multiplies together. So it's 2 and then b to the first. So there's my answer for number 5. So now what I would like you to do, number 6, go ahead, get that one done. I might have something extra for you guys to work on as well, so make sure to get those things done. When I come back, I'll be looking at this stuff. So have a good rest of your day, ladies and gentlemen. See ya.